Hello, today I want to talk about the Night Fae Covenant and its abilities and what all it has to offer us Frost DKs. Also want to talk about what kind of content it's going to be good in and what kind of different things you can actually do with these abilities. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. The very first ability, which is the Covenant signature ability. This is the ability that everybody who joins the Night Fae get, and that is called Soul Shape. Soul Shape is on a 1.5 minute cooldown and it turns you into a Vulpin, increasing your movement speed by 50%, and you can reactivate the ability every few seconds to make you teleport 15 yards forwards. It lasts 12 seconds, or if you are in a rested area, so anywhere where you get the little Z's up here and the glowing thing, then you get it permanently. So what this looks like is this. Turns you to a Vulpin. You can collect other appearances for this as well, and you move a bit faster. You can also activate the ability every 3 seconds in order to make yourself teleport a ways forward. My problem with this ability is that you can't use any of your other abilities while you are in it. There was a previous point in the beta where you could actually activate a handful of spells and it not cancel the ability, but now everything cancels it automatically. That is something that I'm not a massive fan of. However, it's not the end of the world. As far as actually, using it as a movement speed ability, it works very well and it is definitely very useful. I personally don't find it very transformative. In my opinion, it's not that big of a deal, but I know that some people are going to really enjoy it for getting out of raid mechanics and stuff like that. Overall, I'd say this ability is useful and it's cool, and I think it's definitely very flavorful. So now let's go ahead and talk about Death's Due, which is the ability that Death Knights get in particular whenever they join the Night Fae Covenant. This ability replaces Death and Decay. It's on a 30-second cooldown, it costs 1 rune, and it allows you to put Death's Due on the ground like this, and basically it replaces your D&D, and anytime that enemies are standing in here, when you obliterate them, then your obliterate will cleave to 1 extra target. So what this actually looks like in action is this. You drop your D&D, and then you go straight into handling away with your obliterates, and they'll hit both targets. Now, I gotta say, I was honestly a little surprised. I thought this ability would do a lot more damage than it currently does. Right now, it is not shaping up to be the strongest Covenant by any means, either mechanically or with DPS. I've done extensive testing with it in dungeons and in questing and in PvP, and I've done a lot of testing side by side between the Covenants on the target dummies as well, and I just can't make this thing win anywhere. The only scenario that I've been able to find where the Night Fae Covenant is just better than anything else in any regard is when you are in 2 target combat, you versus 2 enemies. That is literally the only time. If there's 3 enemies, the Venthyr overperforms it. If there's 1 enemy, then the Necrolords and the Kyrian and the Venthyr all outperform it. And if there are anything more than 3 enemies, then the Venthyr just completely takes the cake. So I'm not sure where this really fits in. I was so underwhelmed by the amount of damage that it was doing that I even experimented with a bunch of different builds, but I was just trying to do anything I could to try and figure out how to make this Covenant choice compete really. What I ended up falling into as far as my build was the good old obliteration build with Gathering Storm instead of Glacial Advance. With Glacial Advance, I found that in Mythic Plus and Dungeons, it just I wasn't able to get those stacks out quick enough. The trash was just dying with like 1 or 2 stacks on it, and ultimately it was just kind of a wasted effort. So I ended up running Gathering Storm and got a little bit better results that way. At no point really was I continuously on top of the damage meter outside of like for 4 seconds while Death's Due was actually active, and that didn't really feel good. Ultimately, I'm a little disappointed. I honestly was expecting more. I was expecting this to potentially be the best PvE Covenant hands down, unless you wanted to run Breathless and Dragosa. But so far what I'm seeing is that this is not at all the best PvE Covenant, and I'm a little surprised, but I just can't figure out a way to make this build do anything more than underperform by quite a bit. So now let's take a step back and look at PvP. In PvP, it's honestly even worse. I don't have any PvP B-roll to show you guys because honestly I couldn't collect a single good piece. The only arenas that I was able to win were arenas where I just didn't use Death's Due at all. Something I found really annoying was that because Death's Due replaces Death and Decay, was I realized I couldn't get rogues out of stealth without wasting one of my most important offensive cooldowns. That is really annoying, and I didn't expect it. I didn't even think about it beforehand, but the first time I went into a arena versus a rogue, I went to go D&D the rogue out of stealth, and I realized, oh my god, if I do this, I'm going to completely kill my setup and my potential. And so that was really annoying. But when we look past that, because that's not always what it's all about, you know, you can't always get the rogue out anyways, what about the setup potential? And I will say there is some real setup potential. If you can get in with a Windwalker Monk, a Shaman, a Demon Hunter, any one of an AoE stun that can lock down an enemy team, even maybe another DK with an A-bomb limb, you know, not the greatest thing, but you know, you could do it. Then I can see this working better than, you know, I can see this working. But even when I ran with classes with AoE stuns, the setup just wasn't worth it, really. The damage just wasn't really there. It didn't really end up making any meaningful difference. And to me, that was really lackluster, to say the least. So I don't really know what else to say about the abilities. So let's go ahead and hop right into the Soulbinds. So we come over here and we look at Naya's tree. So the Soulbinds for the Night Fae, they're a little underwhelming too. There's nothing extremely transformative about their abilities here. You got Grove Invigoration for Naya, which healing or dealing damage has a chance to grant you a stack of redirected anima up to 10. Death's Due consumes redirected anima and grants you 1% maximum health and 35 mastery per stack for 30 seconds. I gotta say, you don't even notice it. This is as passive gets. I don't even realize it's there. And even with running this, I still can't make this ability really shine. So that was what I was thinking was best, but ultimately it's just not transformative enough at all. So when we look at others, then we've got Dreamweaver here, and she's got Pod Tender, and this is when you take damage that would otherwise kill you. Instead, you rejuvenate with a Wild Seed, regenerating 30% of your HP over 10 seconds. This isn't going to do you a whole lot of good in most kinds of content, but as a blood DK, running with another tank, or maybe for fights where there's lots of damage and you could potentially die and this could save you, maybe there, but this isn't going to be like a good general kind of pick. And then for Corrin down here, your damage on targets above 75% health and healing to targets below 35% health is increased by 10%. When your spells and abilities are enhanced this way, you gain 10% increased movement speed for 5 seconds. This is a little interesting, but this once again isn't anything transformative and isn't really like this, whoa, this is going to change how you play. This is just going to do a little bit more damage on targets above 75% health. So ultimately, nothing here is like, wow, this is like this cool little trick you can do to make the abilities shine or make them fit your playstyle better. And that's a little bit disappointing to me because the other covenants do. The other covenants do completely transform and change the way that your abilities actually function. And so to see that from the Night Fae, and in my testing as well, go and say the Venthyr as well to an extent, it's just kind of like, man, that's unfortunate, you know? But yeah, there's not a whole lot to say here, you know? Naya's is a nice little passive, Corrin's is a nice little passive, and they'll definitely, you know, they will make a measurable difference, but you won't feel the difference. You won't feel it. And that's a problem to me. I gotta say, I'm definitely just a little surprised. I honestly thought they would do better than this, given out all the talk that there has been about them and the way that their abilities actually work, but it is surprisingly lackluster in my opinion. In PvP, I'm sure there's gonna be somebody that likes to set up base gameplay and they'll find a way to make it work, but it is not performing well in PvP. Nobody is standing in Death's Due. Every time I try to get someone to stand in it, they do everything in their right mind to get out of it. I just struggle to find where this ability really fits into the meta. So let me know in the comments down below what you think about this ability and how you could think it could possibly work, because right now I'm not seeing this being good anywhere. So that's all I got. Thanks so much for watching the video. Hope you enjoyed it. Hit that like button if you did, and make sure and subscribe if you want to see more videos like this. Thank you so much and have a great day.